All right, here we go. It is another Thursday and another episode of Chiropractic is Sexy. I am Dr. Paula Ruffin.
And I am Dr. Erica Peabody, and I'm going to take a moment and see if I can share this. So I will let you just take the reins here.
Perfect. I love it. So we are here with you guys today, and our topic today, which I love, Dr. Erica told me this morning that she heard something about gratitude versus grit and what matters most when it comes to your health and taking care of yourself. And so I think we're going to dive a little bit into this as we start to also unveil our, I think we're on 31, 32.
We are on, 32.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 33 principles. Do you guys remember that? There's 33 of them. So yeah, we are moving and grooving.
I know. I'm saying 33. And then if you can see, we also got 34, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
Oh my gosh.
And then on this page, 16, 17, 18, 19, like I'm constantly taking notes now because it's so good. Every Thursday we get to just jot this down.
And that doesn't even include the stack of books that I have.
Oh gosh, that green book I showed you guys last week.
Yeah. So listen, you guys, we're going to be here for several years.
Forever.
How long does it take to get you the information? Forever.
Forever. Actually, patients ask me all the time. They're like, "How long do I have to?" I'll say, "Do the stretch or drink the water." Blah blah blah. How long do I have to do this for? The rest of your life.
The rest of your life.
The rest of your life.
Well, I had a patient who has MS, young. She's like 49-ish, and she's got MS. And I told her, I said, we're going to be working together for 4 to 6 months, and I think I laid out like a plan that was like 35 visits. And she said, "What if I don't need that many?" And I said, "You'll need more."
You'll need more.
You have MS and a whole slew of health problems. You'll need more.
This is actually the only time more plus more does equal more. Sometimes in life, more plus more does not equal more, but with adjustments and keeping chiropractic in, it definitely does.
I like your math. More plus more equals more.
Yes. Well, you know how some people are like, okay, so if I did 20 jumping jacks, that's good. But if I did 250,000 jumping jacks, do you know what I mean? Like people just take the more, and sometimes it doesn't always apply there.
Right. Yes. Yeah. More isn't always better. But then also there's that phrase, everything in moderation, which I freaking hate. I cannot stand that phrase.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you should write that down too.
will.
Everything in moderation. That becomes such a crutch for people to like have one soda a day and then have a little bit of this garbage and a little bit of, it's just one thing of chicken nuggets. That's all. Like what?
Yeah.
No, not everything in moderation.
No.
Mm-mm.
No. So, I do. I love, okay. So first of all, let's start with a principle, which is number 32, the principle of coordination. Coordination is the principle of harmonious action in all parts of an organism in fulfilling their offices and purposes.
Say that again. Read it again. This is one of those chewy ones.
It is very chewy, especially when anyway. Okay. Coordination is the principle of harmonious action of all parts of an organism in fulfilling their offices and purposes. I don't know if I like the word offices in there, but this isn't my opinion to be had over a published book and 33 principles that were published in 1927.
Right. Yeah.
So offices. So when I look at that, I'm like office coordinator, right? So the brain and the information superhighway, the nervous system, and all the ways that spinal messages go to and from. So that's the office. When I look at it as offices, I'll just say office coordinator there. Like that, and the harmonious work of an entire office space. Both of us are in our offices currently. So I look at that, and if you related the body back to, use that as an analogy, that makes sense to me. And then purposes, I mean, just look throughout the body. The purpose of the heart is to pump blood. The purpose of the we all know that. And so that is also coordinated, and a harmonious coordination of that leads to true health. So that's kind of how I break that down right away. Initially.
I think when I hear harmonious, this is an analogy that I use often in my practice, is I think of an orchestra, and that if the instruments aren't tuned, if a string is broken, if an instrument is missing,
Right.
you don't get the same symphony. And I think that our health is really, it's harmonious in like a symphony. Everything has to work in beautiful coordination with each other. And even when things are broken, your body is working in coordination, adapting to the brokenness, to just go back to keep its will to live.
Yep.
You know?
Will to live is so strong. And when I really look at harmony, I mean, everybody would say that there's harmony inside music, which takes us back to the orchestra, but also harmony meaning ease. And if we back up to principle number 30, the cause of dis-ease, ease is harmony inside, and dis-ease, it would also be, I would say, synonymous to disharmony too. And then we took that right into the orchestra, and we got this, flute doing something off, or the violin, like strings are wrong or whatever. Like the whole thing is either harmonious and,
it can either sound beautiful or not. And again, what does your nervous system hear? Does it hear beautiful sound, or does it hear noise?
Right.
Does it hear something off key?
And and as the information superhighway, that it's the spinal column and the spinal cord. And when the spinal column is in misalignment to the spinal cord, then that's literally where the tune can be off, right? So as chiropractors, we look for that in a lot of different ways, and we're able to realign and allow for more harmonious existence. And people, I mean, there's so many examples every single week of people finding, more balance, more harmony. It's really
well, another analogy I use is synchronized swimmers. And that, the coordination of synchronized swimmers, everyone's moving the same but slightly different to give you this beautiful art form. And I equate the human body and the movement of the spine like that, and that we get restrictions. Can you imagine if you've got 10 swimmers and they're all they're all moving in harmony together, and then you have one person out there doggy paddling or like slapping their hands on the water? You're like, what is going on?
Yes, that same thing. The body's like, what is going on?
Right. Yeah.
What is going on over here? And it can be that so on a chronic level that's where a lot of people enter into our office because they've found some symptoms of something, but the whole body has been going like, what is going on over
what
here?
What is happening? Yeah.
Then it starts at a whisper, which, when we look at synchronized swimming inside of the Olympics, like that would be so obvious.
Right.
But probably to them, because they're fine-tuned, it would be like, somebody's a little bit off, and then gets a little bit more off, and then gets a little bit more off. And the judges are seeing all of that.
Yeah.
Same thing in the body. So yeah.
The judges are your brain, right?
Yeah. And your health.
And these people, I'll say women, because I don't think I've ever seen male synchronized swimmers, but and these women they're incredibly tuned to each other. So when you're working in harmony, everything is in perfect communication in order to give you that beautiful outcome. And these are like humans having to make a coordinated effort. And now we're talking about your nervous system, where it's subconscious. But I would imagine too, in some capacity, that their neurology just becomes so perfected, that they're not even thinking half the time. They're really like drilling down on the fine tuning mechanism of it.
Yeah, it's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. I was thinking about, and I should go back. It was actually Dr. Bart again sharing about grit versus gratitude. And it just really hit really, really hard. What are we doing? There was something that he said. It was like, you have to have grit inside of it, but what are you doing in order to, when nobody's looking? What are you doing when it's just you? What are you doing when somebody's relying on you? What are you doing when, my office, like I always talk about, my world is booby trap for me to show up, which is so lovely because behind the scenes, it's also booby trap that I have to keep really good health. But it's like, what are we doing when no one's around? What are we eating? What are we, and I still find myself doom scrolling, of course, like everybody else at a certain point. But I'm also like, have shifted that to being meditating every single day and also writing for 3 pages just to be sure that I'm processing life and progressing through life. And that's the grit part. But it's also like, are you stopping by and having McDonald's chicken nuggets? Like, are you doing that? Or are you really putting in the work? Because our health for across the board is up to us alone. We have people on our team, but it is up to us as individuals every single day. And that's the grit part. I can be so grateful for a super healthy body. I can be so grateful to wake up in the morning, have all my faculties. I can be so grateful, and I am. I'm grateful I can go to the gym. Like I went to the gym last night. I kicked my own butt. I went the night before. I went to yoga. Like I've done all these things this week, but it's also like, and I'm grateful I can move my body. I'll never take that for granted. But it's the grit part of, I leave the office at 6:00 last night. The last thing I want to do is go to the gym after work. But the gym, one of my gyms is just a mile down the road. And I got in there and I started going, and, it was probably 7 or 8 minutes in. I was like, I'm so much better off for coming. Like it's in those quiet moments of, I have 150 or more excuses not to go.
Yeah.
But it's the
Everybody does, don't they?
going that makes my skin glow today.
Yeah.
That makes my day easy today. That makes my muscles strong today. That makes my digestion work today. That makes my stress levels reduce today.
And make sure just how you think and relate to the world.
Yeah.
You're a happier person.
Yeah.
Not that you're not ever happy, but you know what I mean?
No, it's true.
It changes your whole demeanor when you can do that. And I think when we think about that, the gratitude and the grit, and I'm like you, I'm like, you're up, you're moving, you're making yourself do things. It's the grit that forces you to get up each and every morning and do the thing that is required for life, but not even just lifing, but to live life to the fullest.
Yeah.
And then being so grateful that we have this capacity that we've built within ourselves to have the strength, to have the mental fortitude, to have the health, the level of health. And, I think I've shared with you a couple of stories of patients who I know that, I've known them for many, many years and have really worked hard to get them to start taking care of themselves. And one in particular, again, 20 years and over and having conversations of why she didn't feel well and what, 20 years ago, do a detox here. And then she would derail. She just this constant yo-yoing with her health, not yo-yo dieting, yo-yoing with her health, a binge eater, self-proclaimed sugar addict, not sleeping well, in an abusive relationship, like just all the things that are detrimental to forward movement in life, or I should say forward movement to vitality. And she's just recently gotten a diagnosis of rheumatoid arthritis and feels horrible. And she's like 70. So for 20 years, I've been trying to shout from the rooftops at her to say, this doesn't get better if we don't take care of it now. And so that was such a huge, I don't know if it was a light bulb moment, but it was really an impactful moment for me this morning. As I started to realize that, I'm like, we can't save everyone, but it was so sad to me. It was really heartbreaking because this is where, and then another young woman who's a young mom of 2. And she said, yeah, I'm waking up every morning. She went like this with her hands. I'm waking up every morning and my hands are really stiff. And I'm like, inflammation. And I said, listen, 20 years ago, I had a patient who came to me with the same thing. And I told her, this is what we needed to do. And she didn't. And now it's 20 years later. And now we're dealing with a diagnosis of rheumatoid arthritis. And I said, so here's what we're going to do. I said, I'm not going to let that happen to you. Mm-hmm. And this is just, it really, and I know you feel the same way. It's like our hearts are just so deeply in this to want something more for each and every one of you out there, when we know that we can easily guide you to a better place, but we can't do the work.
Right. It's the grit part of it, which is ad nauseum. And I'm going to say this every single time. There's 6 things we have to eat: the right foods. And I tell people, come to me, they're like, what am I supposed to eat? We know, everybody out there knows what they're supposed to eat. And there's a lot of misinformation, of course. There's a lot of marketing in certain ways, but we know if we eat more live foods, more foods that it doesn't have ingredients. We're not reading ingredients. We're looking at this and saying, this is broccoli. We're not reading ingredients. If you're doing a lot of reading ingredients, which used to be a really popular thing, then, we need to be looking at our food and saying, this is a piece of chicken. This is a piece of salmon. This is salmon with salt and pepper on it. This is a burger. This is whatever. It needs to be one ingredient foods. And the simplest, I would say the simplest, and you might have a different idea, but the simplest is just, if you need to Google something, Google anti-inflammatory diet. That's it. Mm-hmm. Take a look, see what you got. Lots of greens, lots of fresh stuff, lots, minimal processed things. Anti-inflammatory diet. That's your Google search. So start there. So eat well, move well. Of course, exercise bare minimum of 20 to 30 minute walk every single day. No questions asked. I don't care who you are. I'm like, your excuses no longer work here. Mm-hmm. So eat well, move well, think well. Obviously, the positive mindset, which that's what we're talking about with gratitude, but also with grit of the mindset where we don't give ourselves excuses to not do the thing. Eat well, move well, think well, drink your water, half your body weight in ounces or more every single day. I would add electrolytes in for just about everybody across the board. Get your rest, prioritize sleep and get adjusted, which we've talked about now for almost a year here. And, a collective of 47 or almost 50 years together.
Crazy.
Practice. I know. It is crazy. Yeah. It's so crazy. Yeah. I was talking to one of our colleagues. It's 30 years in, and he's 59 and younger than he's the dad of a 12-year-old. Most of the dads that are around him that his 12-year-old's going to school with. But he's like, every single day, I want to do something that's going to help me live longer and not die. I need to live a long time still. And I'm doing something every single day. So, and we do our best to be examples. One of our colleagues was asking me over video. He was like, we got this whole slogan of make America healthy again. We don't even need to get political. And he's like, what would you think if I took that and started run with it? I said, take that and be it. Be it. We don't have to go into political slogans of anything. What we do is need to be that. And Dr. Paula and I are working our behinds up every single day in our own lives to be that statement.
Yeah. Yeah. It's super unfortunate too, when there's so much confusion about our food and our food system and how to actually be healthy, which is why we're here. But, I had a patient say to me one time, she said, I'm food dumb. And I'm like, healthy eating just comes it's still beyond me that people can't look at a Big Mac and go, that's not good for me. Some people, or my patient that I would say, thinks that Jimmy Dean breakfast sandwiches are healthy because it has an egg in it. which is like an egg-like substance. It's not even so. If the farther away it is from its source, then it's not good. Like it needs to be as close to its source as possible. So the egg needs to get cracked in your own kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
It should come from a local farm.
Mm-hmm.
If you're like, and I'm on a make sourdough bread kick. I know everybody's not going to make their own sourdough, but the whole point is that we have to really just use your head. Like, that a donut is not going to serve you.
Mm-hmm.
That a piece of fruit would be much better.
Mm-hmm.
There's not. So when people say I'm food dumb, I do believe that that's an excuse, and I also recognize there's a lot of confusion, especially when our US food pyramid, which is the scam that it was to try to sell more grain in a down market back in the 70s. And so we told the world that grains were amazing and that healthy fats were bad, when yet, the Mediterranean diet is still around. Our pyramid's still around, but it's only because the government still, won't retract it. So, but the whole point is that, you just use your common sense. And we always say, if you look at something you're eating and ask yourself, is this taking me towards health? Is this taking me away from health? You can easily look at what is in front of you. Now, there's still confusion with regards to, my nephew's been texting me and he's like, so why are artificial sweeteners bad? I'm like, my nephew, my 28-year-old, 30-year-old nephew. And I'm like, how long have you known me? And my mom, who she taught us all this as well. So it's just interesting to me that even in your own family, when you think you're a living example of it, you think you're talking about it all the time, but are people listening? Whether we're talking about it or not, are people listening? So we hope you all are listening to our message.
I rant every week. I had this patient in this week, and she got married. Let's see. It's probably been 18 months ago. And so about 4 weeks ago, a month ago, she came in, and I have two stories this week, but this one came in, and she's pregnant, and they're so excited. It's like the first baby in the family, and they're cute as a button, just as a couple anyway. And she is. And so she's struggling with nausea. She's, I think 8 weeks or 7 weeks, I think was yesterday. And she said to me the other day, she's like, what can I do about this nausea? And she said, so I've been told that I can take Benadryl and Imodium.
How about magnesium?
Okay, so
how about that? How about protein?
Yeah. So she did. She had to start to add more carbs into her diet, which she figured out this week. So this was last week. She was asking me that question, and she said, they told me, and I'm like, who's they? They told me that I can take the Benadryl nighttime. Which I'm like, first of all, that's only for emergencies, and it's not for pregnancy, or Imodium. And it's like, if your body is doing nausea. So my understanding, and I really need to look up the research on it, is the placenta is so much of dad's DNA that the body is like, what is in here? And it takes 3 months, the first trimester, for the body to be like, okay, cool. This was an invader initially, and that's what creates the nausea. And then the body's like, okay, all right, they're staying. And then
this is so interesting you brought this up. I literally just had a conversation with a patient this morning about this. And so when I was pregnant, I dove into what are all the processes, the chemical and biochemical processes that take place. So from an evolutionary perspective, the baby the fetus, I don't know, embryo, whatever it is,
and then fetus, yeah,
whatever it is,
the babe
is it. So let's talk about the body, the human body's will to survive. It actually emits a hormone or produces a hormone that makes the mother nauseous to prevent her from eating something that would poison her and kill the baby. That is the evolutionary process, and why women get. And I have all the data here. By the way, I've got it in a book here that I read when I was pregnant. I was like, fascinating, like absolutely fascinating, and how right. So that it's so tiny and it's very much at risk. So it's like, let's just make mom sick so she can eat very little. Or think about pregnant women that they smell something like, oh, I can't. So,
opinion. Yeah. It's
Babe's opinion. Great if that hormone like deterred them from McDonald's and processed food and all of that,
I know.
But yeah, it's really fascinating. And then the other evolutionary piece of that is that men's testosterone levels go down so that, and again, this is evolutionary. It's not like we have low testosterone levels today. That's a whole nother conversation. But testosterone levels go down because it makes them less likely to want to have sex. And then there's other hormones that come up for protection. So the male is now more likely to go hunt and gather and then protect versus having sex, which is, not going to, further the family. So it's really, just evolutionary, genetically, the way the human body works. This is innate intelligence, you guys.
Especially at its finest. And sperm came together and made this babe, and everyone's excited about it. And it's so great. And mom is the one trying to figure out how to get through the days. But it's also, so she said that to me, and I said, 100% no. 100%.
Well, what's more poisonous than that, right? So here's the baby emitting this hormone to make you not ingest things that are going to poison it. And yet doctors are telling you, like, this is proven data. Like this is, and yet doctors don't know this. So then they're just like, yeah, just go take more poison then. Like what?
So that was one story. So we got her adjusted, and it's just, she said, I said, what week are you in? And she's like, I'm 7 this week. And I'm like, it's just a process, and it's going to be a blip on the radar in the grand scheme of things. And I said, I've had hyperemesis women, which they puked almost every day for the entire 9 months. And that's sometimes part of it too. And that doesn't mean that it's not fine. Like, it's just what the body's doing. And so to stop vomiting ever is never a good idea. The body's doing that for a reason. So anyway, so that was one story I had this week. And then the other one, I had one of my patients that has been in for years, and she kind of goes back and forth with vertigo. She's young. She's like, gosh, I want to say she's 20, 21, something like that. She goes back and forth with vertigo. And she said, I'm flying on Sunday or on Wednesday, and I got out of the sauna on Saturday. And she said, ever since then, I had the vertigo kicked up. And what can I do for the vertigo? And I'm like, eat well, move well, drink your water, get your rest, get adjusted. I'm glad you're here getting adjusted today, but there is not a button for symptoms for any of them. Yeah. So it was like, she got adjusted. She felt so much better. Do adjustments cure vertigo? No, we realign the body. The body takes care of itself. So same thing again. I saw her on Wednesday because she was flying that afternoon. And it's like, are you susceptible to getting into vertigo situation this afternoon? Who knows? But here's the thing. Get adjusted anyway. Get adjusted. Let's get you at least your body's best shot to do that. And of course I do, some upper cervical work, some work with the ears, some work with the jaw, work with the cervical spine. It's all there, but there's no button. And she was so I know my chiropractor will have the answer for how to get on a plane with vertigo. We just don't. The body's doing what it's doing. It just is. And she probably did really well. But I think even that mindset of how am I going to fly will get you to a very stressed out place of how am I going to fly and make things so much worse? So then it just goes back to eat well, move well, think well, drink your water, get your rest, get adjusted. Always, 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 always.
And to have vertigo at such a young age, at any age really, but at that young age, that is the alarms are blaring.
Yeah.
This is my patient 20 years ago. The
Yeah.
alarms are blaring. So we cannot ignore these things. We really have to listen to these messages that your body is struggling, and that is not normal to have that. So yeah, paying attention and getting to the basics and understanding that it's going to take time. How long is it going to take, Erica? Your whole life, your whole life, your whole effing life is what we want to say. How long is it going to take?
Forever.
Your whole
effing life. Yeah. And that's the other part too. You know, there's you know, life is about the journey and not the destination, and health is a constant and continuous journey. And there's no actual destination. It's like, what can I do today to move myself towards more balance, more harmony, getting back to the principle, easier for the body to coordinate what it needs to do, less inflammation, more fluidity, less stress, more harmony, just all the things always, more, you know, more rest, more stress reducing activities, just all of it. Yeah. It's all of
and
it.
It will ebb and flow. I think that's the, you know, it's going to ebb and flow. And, you know, when you talk about grit, I was listening to a podcast last week, and the guy being interviewed, well, they were talking about, you know, being happy. And so he was asked, you know, well, are you happy? Are you a happy person? And he said, you know, I'm not a happy person. And he said, what he means by that is that every day he gets up and he challenges, you know, cold plunges and working out. And he's a very, you know, he's a very famous person. I don't want to mention it because, you know, he's also, you know, somewhat politically charged. So I'm going to avoid that. But he was saying, you know, he said he gets up and he does things that absolutely suck. And he hates it, but he knows it's challenging him in a positive way. And he said, and then every Friday night, he and his wife have date night. And he said, I am able to enjoy that date night so much more because I know that everything I put myself through during the week was something that built me. It gave me resilience. It made me better. It made him a better man. It makes him a better husband, a better father. And so he puts himself in these very challenging situations from a health perspective, not a destruction perspective, but he challenges himself physically, mentally, emotionally, so that when he does get to the happy time, he's able to just completely let go. And he says he feels like he can really experience the joy and happiness in those moments, more so because he forced himself to do hard things.
Yep. The grit part of it.
You know, and I think that's, you know, people are like, oh, I don't, you know, I'm going to go, we've had this conversation. I'm going to take 2 Advil before I go golfing in case I get sore. Like, get sore. Go get sore. Go enjoy it.
Yeah.
Feel what that feels like.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's just the feeling of being alive.
Yeah.
Really, truly. So
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think, you know, and admittedly I have maybe, I don't know, maybe two migraines a year. You know, it starts in my eye. And you know what I do? I start drinking water. I get my electrolytes in. I take all my nutrients. If I'm home and I need to lay down, I will, or I'll just go on a walk. I'll do things that distract me. But really, probably once a year, I might have to take like a Motrin, maybe, because I'm doing all the things. I'm stacking it, and most of the time it works. It fixes it. So I get that, like, every once in a while we have to move to a place where we have to, you know, we have to use modern medicine, but that should not ever be your first place. Most people when they feel the little eyeball headache coming on, they immediately run for the medications. Like, no, like do all the things anyway. This is all my electrolytes. It's all my things. I do it every day anyway. And stress and life. And we just don't know when we get exposed to toxic chemicals in the air or in our environment.
Right.
That are going to affect us like that. So, it's never a perfect line to the end. There's always, 3 steps forward, 1 step back, right?
Right. Well, I had mentioned a couple of weeks ago where that like reorganizing the idea around symptoms, like our bodies are designed to be sick. Our bodies are designed to take that illness and to do all the immune functions in order to get us better. Our symptoms are, they're messages. Like pain means pay attention. Other symptoms, everything is just pay attention. Your body got so overwhelmed with inflammation that it started to leak out your nose and down into your throat and into your lungs. Like it just got so overwhelmed that now you have symptoms. So how can we make sure? And we've talked a little bit about the analogy of rocks in the backpack. Like we've put so many rocks back there that our body, we have to start to empty those rocks out. We have to like not add in, a night out of drinking or, skipping a workout or whatever, all those things that add rocks there, because we need to be able to, like you said, enjoy date night. We need to be able to get out and live and give to the day, not just get through the day. There's so many mornings that I wake up and I'm like, do I really want to do this? It's not always yes, but it's like I am resourced enough to be able to get up and just go and do the thing. And but it's the daily grit of going to the gym after work and getting up and getting the dogs outside and getting my rest, and it's all of it. All of it, all the time.
Yeah, it's the challenge
all the time.
This patient that just recently got diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, she told me she's been on 4 rounds of steroids since March. Now, rheumatoid arthritis is an inflammatory, any autoimmune issue is inflammatory. It's a gut issue. What do steroids do? They wipe the gut out. But even worse, she asked her rheumatologist about, dietary. And here's what the rheumatologist said. That's not going to help. None of those diets are going to help you. They won't change this. They won't make it better. They won't improve your situation, and it'll never go away. So you're stuck with this, and you'll be on this medication for the rest of your life. That's what our medical doctor, like, they're not even offering hope for people.
Right.
And not giving healthy eating credence.
I know.
That's how we're guided.
That's negligence, though.
Isn't
that is
crazy?
Completely negligent.
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm like,
but a lot of the MDs, they don't even ask about what you're putting in your body. Like that's not even part. It's like one of the first questions in our paperwork here. What are you eating? What's your breakfast, lunch, dinner? What's regular for you? So anyway, yeah.
I know it's crazy. And that's the thing, like we're taking this holistic approach to everything. And so that we can make sure that we don't want the wheels falling off for you. We don't want you to be going out in there and going out in the world and like flailing around trying to find the answers. Like we have the answers right here. So just make sure you're showing up every week. Right.
Yeah, exactly. I had this patient in this morning and she's like, oh, I just, I slept wrong. And I know we hear this a lot, right? And I got to tell you,
Did you tell her I make fun of people who say that?
Yeah, no, I'm just like, if you slept wrong, like there's no injury to be had when we're sleeping, right? So I'm like, okay, we're seeing you. I think so I have her on she's been under care for a long, long time. I have her on an every 3-week frequency, and she's choosing 5. And so at 5 weeks, you've gone too far. And then you have a tragic sleeping accident. It's like we should be able to just sleep and wake up and feel fine and not have a tragic sleeping accident. That is your body screaming for something's going on here. And it's
I'm stealing that. That is the funniest. That is the funniest phrase.
It's true. How often do you hear that? I slept wrong. I'm like,
how did I sleep wrong?
Just be able to sleep.
and then I'll be like, okay, so tell me about what you've been doing the last few days. You know, I mean, I had a patient one time, and he was like, oh, I got really sore after the adjustment. I'm like, did you? Tell me what you did. And he's a roofer. He carried like a whole pallet of shingles on one shoulder up onto a roof, one bundle at a time, up and down a ladder. Like, but it was the adjustment that did it. And then I guarantee you at some point he's probably come in and told me that he slept wrong, right? So you're like, yeah, how many shingles did you carry today? You know?
Yeah, I know.
Tragic sleeping accident. Oh my God, that's so beautiful.
It's true. It's like, these things build up, and then you bend over and pick up a pencil or put a t-shirt on, and you know, you end up with a crick in your neck.
I always say, how heavy was that sock when you bent over to put it on and your back went out, right?
Building.
Well, why don't you read that again? Because I think this orchestration piece, I think this is really a beautiful.
So the principle of coordination. Coordination is the principle of harmonious action of all the parts of an organism in fulfilling their offices and purposes. So
your body needs to be functioning in harmony. It can't have disruption. And when it has disruption, there will be dis-ease.
Right.
So
and then the number 33, which is rounding out our 33 principles, is the law of demand and supply. So this is going to be good and probably needs multiple.
You need like 3 or 4 episodes for that one.
The law of demand and supply is existent in the body in its ideal state, wherein the clearinghouse is the brain, innate the vitreous banker, brain cells clerks, and nerve cells messengers.
Oh gosh,
that doesn't go together. Let's try that again.
Does that one require like smoking some marijuana?
I don't know. Everyone knows the law of demand and supply. I mean, the more you demand of your body, the more it's going to show up for you. But okay, the law of demand and supply is existent in the body in its ideal state, wherein the clearinghouse is the brain, innate the vitreous banker, the brain cells are the clerks, and the nerve cells are the messengers.
Okay, well, we're gonna deconstruct that one next week. For sure. I've got a couple of thoughts and ideas. So
I know it's instantaneously, but I mean, it's supply and demand ultimately, and everybody has a good basis for what that even starts to mean.
And it sounds to me like supply and demand is working harmoniously until we disrupt that, right?
Exactly.
And it all plays in together.
Oh, I got a revised version here. Sure. Cool. Awesome.
Well, outstanding. Well, listen, thank you guys for showing up. Make sure you you hit the like button, subscribe, share, and we are going to be coming to you on our own channel. It's going to be a couple of months, but just want to make sure that I get that information out there each and every time so that we can give you a heads up that we'll ultimately be jumping to the Chiropractic is Sexy channel. And it's just going to require a little bit of work on my end, but we'll get there. All right, you guys, thanks so much for showing up, and we will see you next week for the 33rd principle of the 33 principles. I can't believe it was supposed to be 33 weeks, but we extended it. Like it was a year that we've been doing this.
Well, a lot of times we would just come across something that needed more info for the day. So anyway,
I love it.
Love you guys.